Okay, my friends, welcome back. We are starting a series of a few videos on the unitive state, and later I'll do a few videos on the no self state. There's going to be five videos. This is the first one. It's called The Essence or Nature of the Unitive Life, or What It Is All About. Then there'll be another one called How It Works. Then there'll be another one called What It Feels Like. Then there will be another one called The Proper Attitude to Have. And then there'll be another one called Increasing Glimpses of the No Light at the End of the Tunnel, or perhaps Blinded by the Light at the End of the Tunnel, whatever. These are working titles. So what is the unitive state all about? First of all, the reason why she wrote this book and the reason why I'm making this video is because she said that a person could not do anything better with one's life than talk and write about the unitive life. There is the complete death of the ego, shattered to a million pieces, and then there's this change in the direction of the movement shortly after that. This is part of the unitive life. It's a movement outward in selfless giving. So far, my concern has been to show how and why a turning point occurs at this peak stage, or how the movement of God draws us inward only to move us outward. This is not an intellectual movement or even one that makes sense. Rather, it is the movement of both a subtle power and an unknowable, unfathomable intelligence. No one else is moving in us. We only move at all because God moves us, for outside God no movement is possible. But in this movement we come upon many discoveries of how God works in us and what changes he has wrought, and what are the effects of the full unitive state. Although basically simple in itself, this state is difficult to convey and usually results in sounding more complicated than it really is. Yet one could do nothing better with one's life than make the attempt to say something of this unitive gift of God. So again, it's when the person looks within and they no longer see an I, they see we. And another characteristic or hallmark of this phrase is a tremendous amount of freedom. St. John of the Cross once drew a map of the spiritual life, which he depicted as the trek up Mount Carmel. At the top, the peak, he wrote, "Here there is no longer any way, because for the just man there is no law. He is a law unto himself." This attests to the boundless freedom of the full unitive state, and that the way forward is of man's own choosing, meaning from here on there is no specific path, and man is on his own. Until this point, God has led us on a secure path, brought us the great freedom which derives from our union with him, and now man must exercise this freedom, exercise the unitive life. This may sound easy to do, but in fact, nothing could be more difficult. We do not know the way forward, and so much freedom boggles the mind and spirit. We have come upon nothing like it before. In vain we look for a secure path, and when it does not appear, we sit down on the peak and do not take the initiative. It is all very risky. For myself, I stepped out with a rope attached, that is, cautiously. Then one day I was given the man in the airplane treatment and was shoved out without any attachments. That there was no great splat attests to the miracle of the unitive state. It is like a butterfly emerging from the cocoon. There is fear and unknowing before it suddenly discovers it can fly, discovers that this is what its transformation was all about, and that to fly is the essence of the mature life. So it's kind of you know how 2-year-olds get a sense of ego, and most of us mature out of that, and some of us do not. But the reason why there's flight is because one is no longer hindered, hampered at all by any threads tied to an ego. One is freed from all temper tantrums on all levels. Another characteristic of the unitive state is that it is actually a long preparation for something that happens much later, which we will talk about next week, called the no self event. To attain the vision, however, we need not be dead. Man is in the body, but not of the body. And what can be glimpsed in the flesh can be realized in the flesh. If this were not true, no one would be around to tell us about it. God or heaven is not in some far-off place. To see God, we need not go anywhere or move at all. To see God, we need only be prepared. And this preparation is what the unitive life is about. In his commentary on the flame that consumes and gives no pain, we are told something of the new transformation that lies ahead. Although in this present state of union, and here's a quote from stanza 39 of the Spiritual Canticle, there is conformity. Still the soul suffers some degree of pain and detriment, first because the beatific transformation which the spirit lacks, and secondly, because of the detriment which is suffered by weak and corruptible sense from its contact with the fortitude and loftiness of love that is so great. So the disparity between the two. And another characteristic, and hopefully we're keeping this under 10 minutes, so my video recorder doesn't jump onto the next one. There is a movement progressively underground of all grace and all experience. After this, however, the point of light seemed to explode and become all of this human form but the eternal husk. I saw how God was indeed my very life and breath, and that Christ, as the true self, was the inner strength, the will to God, the essence of the new man, the butterfly itself. Obviously, God had only withdrawn himself as an interior object of vision in order to reveal himself on a yet more subjective, everyday level. At the same time, it was clear that the true nature of all dark nights is God's moving progressively underground in order to take over our deepest subjective experience of personal being. This is how transformation works. So we'll start, actually I think we'll end the next video with more on that, how Christ's human manifestation is in our subjective experience, and we need to go beyond the objective or the historical Christ. Anyway, and that's why he left. That's why there was the ascension, so we wouldn't stay focused on him. Anyway, have a great day, more videos to come, and take good care.